Hello and welcome to the Grad Report. My name is Danny. And no, I will not be discussing my cartoonization. Suffice to say that the simplest explanation involves a wormhole into an alternate reality, where I can only communicate with people through a advertisement-based application that is slowly but surely going to take over humanity. Just kidding, Google Overlord. Don't smite me. Anyway, I wanted to tell you a story about the single greatest restaurant experience I've ever had in my life, which took place back in 2017 when I was living in Dubai. Won't you join me now in that little journey into yesteryear when things were oh so much more simpler?
When I was living in Dubai, I received an email from a restaurant manager inviting me to come to her restaurant. The restaurant is called At.mosphere. It was and currently is the world's tallest restaurant. It holds this amazing distinction as it is located in the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa. How high is it, you might be wondering? Well, if you were to stack ostrich eggs end to end, tall ways, it would take you 4,153 ostrich eggs to get that high in the sky. Assuming, of course, that you use the average egg size as 6 inches, which when calculating over 4,000 eggs isn't a stretch given the group size of over 4,000 eggs, it would be easy to reach a number close to the average. But on the off chance that you are not an ostrich farmer and don't use these large eggs that these fascinating beasts produce as a measuring stick, the restaurant resides at 442 meters from the ground on the 122nd level. That's 1,384.5 feet up in the air. That's over 1/4 of a mile up. It's really high. It's taller than the Eiffel Tower in Paris, China, and Las Vegas. It's taller than the Empire State Building. It's taller than Taipei 101. It's taller than the Freedom Tower in New York. This thing is up there, man. This is the tallest restaurant in the world. And she was inviting me to come to it. I had a look at the menu of the restaurant online and replied a very gracious thank you to the manager for inviting me, but assured her that due to YouTube's new ad revenue policies, it had been at least 6 years since I was able to afford going to such a classy restaurant. She implied that she had been enjoying my videos for some time, especially the Serbian ones, and that a large portion of her staff was Serbian, and it would be their honor to treat me to dinner. I then made myself uniquely available to whenever would be most convenient for them, so she put our names on a list, and before you know it, we were in a high-speed elevator, like a couple of astronauts reaching into the heavens to touch the face of God and suckle from his sweet, sweet teat. Upon arriving at the top, we were taken to a table up against the window at the bar to enjoy our pre-dinner signature cocktail. I don't remember the name of it, or what delicious flower it must have tasted like. I don't even remember the price, although I know I couldn't afford it. I do remember it was like a dream, but one where you know you're dreaming, and so it's a little bit sweeter than reality, because you're aware of how special it is to be awake inside a dream. Though drinks arrive in wooden boxes containing clouds which were perched in birds' nest, and at this altitude the imagery is perfect. Below us, as if on another planet, the fountains at the Burj were doing their show, blasting 22,000 gallons of water 500 feet into the air, in the middle of a 30-acre man-made lake. And it all looked so tiny from our vantage point in heaven. It looked unreal, fake even, like a model that was made for viewing, not a place where people actually lived and worked. Soon our table in the restaurant was ready, and we got a glass of bubbly to get things started. Our table again up against a window for maximum epicness. Each of the 7 courses had its own silverware and plates, which was reset between the courses, not counting the butter and the bread baskets, which made entries throughout the night. Each course was wild, fantastic, and beautifully presented. A base of chocolate, white peach puree, orange puree, goat cheese dumplings with a perfectly cut cube of salmon on a plate which could only be described as being a white donut. It was crafted, sculpted, placed, and organized. Then came a few vegetables and some dipping schlippings that you dip and slip things into. As the sun was setting, we stepped into a bowl of magic, topped with a cherry sauce. Not a sweet cherry, the sour ones that kick flavors into new revolutionary settings. The sun had set at this point. Outside turned into a landscape of stars twinkling on the earth below us, the view usually reserved for mountaintops placed in the middle of a city. Each time the glass of bubbly got low, it was filled up again. Then this appeared. It's like a salad, beans and foam, and the guy explained it to us with patience and kindness, but I think we both knew I was never going to understand what it was, that I lacked the proper foundation of culinary expertise to understand how this was created. But it tasted experimental enough to be on a space shuttle, and tasty enough to make you rethink every life decision that would keep you from being able to enjoy this again. As soon as it's done, the table is reset, and then another little thing arrives. Seared fish, bamboo shoots, special sauce with a few fresh leaves from an undiscovered plant, a drop of red spice from a volcano to balance out the sweet and zesty dish. I should mention here that when we sat down, I had a moment with the waiter when he asked me what we wanted. He said there were a few choices, the 4-course, the 6, the 7, and then there's the steak or the fish option for an extra $1,000. And to be honest, it might have only been an extra $800 for the steak. I was a touch worried that the extra would be too much, so I asked him to check with the manager to ask, what we were allowed to get. And he assured me that whatever I ordered would be covered, with the exception of a few caviars that were priced in the several $1,000s per tablespoon. So naturally, I got the $1,000 steak. I asked the guy, how could a steak ever cost that much? As I understand it now, the cow comes from a very proud family of cows in Japan. The cow is then flown to Dubai and asked politely to die, whereupon it gives up its juiciest, never frozen, super fresh meat to the chef, who cooks it and slices it and bastes it to perfection. Then a light red wine sauce from a bottle pulled out of the Titanic is poured over the meat to complete and complement the dish. Whilst you eat, a violinist comes around from table to table, playing magical and romantic music for everyone. I wasn't even thinking of getting married again, but if this moment had gone on any longer, I would have proposed to that pretty little lady. And any longer than that, I would have proposed to the violin guy. The desserts came out. They brought out 4 of their finest bits of chocolate and clouds filled with mango puree and strawberry puree. A hazelnut Fabergé with pear chips and gold dust over a pear sponge, brown sugar, and seeds filled with angel dreams. After dinner, we returned to the bar for a few glasses of cognac and a look at the fountain show at night. I'm more than a little embarrassed to say that I was throwing back $100 glasses of cognac like it was cheap tequila at an all-inclusive resort in Mexico, and the growing concerns on Anna's face led me to believe that it was nearing the time to go. So I found our gracious hosts, took some lasting photos with them, and bid them farewell as Anna and I traipsed back down the elevator to Earth. As we waited for our valet, yes, that's the one, the bright red Ferrari. I think I drove in with that one. No, it must have been this Bentley here. Ah, yes. The old dusty Lexus. 210,000 miles with a check engine light that will probably never go off again. It's got that light dusting that says, "I park it outside." And the driver's side has recently been smashed in with that special patina of poverty. We're back on the ground. Life returning to the extremely real existence of a YouTuber. And as Anna Maria drove us home, because I was far too drunk, I'm reminded of the words of Sir Edmund Hillary. He was the first person to climb Mount Everest. I can't remember how the quote goes exactly, but it's something about we're all climbing mountains, and sometimes, if we're lucky enough, we get to stand at the top for a little while. Sometimes, if I close my eyes and I smell with my memory, I can almost taste that soft, buttery beef flown from Japan for me to digest. I lean way out of the window of the car, and I look back up at the glass and steel that was once so far below me. And I wonder when, if ever, I will dance again in the clouds made by men.
final summation. I love you, my little lemon drops. Do join me on Patreon and shoot me some coin on PayPal. And I will send you a postcard, maybe. Maybe not. I haven't been really great at that. But I sure could use the dosh if we want this little adventure of ours to continue. Which, I certainly hope it does. And I love you. And remember, if no one else loves you, that's because you're intolerable. Try to be a better person, I don't know. Okay? Bird.